DP with Veterans Network Champions Club. Let's talk VA claims. This is interesting. You may have seen this probably. If not, here it is. The Supreme Court basically heard a case regarding a veteran who pretty much brought forth the fact that they should have gone compensated back to when they left service and so forth versus when they filed. For those that don't know, when you file a claim, let's say, for example, you got in the 70s or the 80s or 90s, whenever it was, until you actually make a point to file the claim, your effective date of what they'll pay you back to is when you began to file the claim. When you open an intent to file, right, saying VA, I'm going to file a claim, you have 1 year to file that claim. But let's say, for example, something happened years prior where you should have been getting those benefits, but you didn't know how, or many factors were a part of it. What happened for that time period? So in this case here, they went all the way to the Supreme Court to hear about retroactive benefits for disabled veterans. So in this instance here, we have Adolfo Arellano, who served in the Navy from 77. He was aboard the aircraft carrier in 80. They had a collision, killed and injured several of his shipmates, and swept him overboard. He was discharged and basically went on to, live life and different things happened. Down the road, eventually, he made a point to file his claim. He was found 100% disabled and the different things he's dealing with. But the first 30 years after his discharge, he didn't file for disability. And basically, the lawyers are saying that he, should have been receiving that from the beginning, but many factors were playing why that did not happen, right? So basically, in 2011, his brother, as you'll see here, who's also his caregiver, filed a claim. And the brief doesn't explain why that file wasn't they didn't file beforehand, but there could be many different reasons. So they're listening to this. They have not made a decision as of yet, but it's making its round, and I think it's interesting because of the fact that if this does pass, right, this in turn now begins to open potential doors for other veterans in different categories who may have not filed before because, for example, the Edgewood group here, so a group of veterans who were subjected to Army studies, right, mid-century for different things were done in secret, so they couldn't file a claim. They were exposed to things. What happens with them? Victims of military sexual trauma, which I'll touch on another one, which is something else. So now that these things are happening, many folks are beginning to speak up and look into this. So this will be something interesting to follow because, again, just because he, let's say, may win this claim doesn't mean it creates a precedent for others. But things are changing. There are arguments where some veterans should, let's say, be paid back to when they left service or, earlier dates than when they finally filed all these years later. Obviously, that creates a situation where there's a lot of money in turn that the government has to look into. So it'll be interesting to follow how this comes about. But go ahead and check it out over militarytimes.com. Supreme Court hearing cases of retroactive benefits.